Tsar Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia, is known for his fatal mistakes that ultimately led to the downfall of not only himself, but also the Russian Empire. Born on May 18, 1868, Nicholas Alexandrovich Romanov inherited the throne from his father, Emperor Alexander III, in 1894. As a ruler, Nicholas faced numerous challenges and made several ill-advised decisions that would have catastrophic consequences. It's crucial to examine these mistakes and their implications in order to understand the tragic fate of the last Tsar of Russia. One of Nicholas II's fatal mistakes was his autocratic ruling style, which hindered the necessary reforms and modernization that Russia desperately needed. The Tsar was deeply conservative and reluctant to embrace progressive ideologies or grant political freedoms. This refusal to adapt to the changing times and meet the demands of the people alienated various social groups and paved the way for unrest and revolution. Another significant mistake made by Nicholas II was his mishandling of the Russo-Japanese War in 1904 to 1905. The Tsar's decision to engage in this conflict was ill-considered and ill-prepared, ultimately resulting in a humiliating defeat for Russia. The war further ignited discontent among the Russian population, who were already suffering due to economic hardships and political repression. In the wake of the disastrous Russo-Japanese War, the discontent and frustration within Russia grew even stronger. Amidst this turbulent climate, the tragic event known as Bloody Sunday occurred in 1905. Peaceful demonstrators, consisting mainly of workers and their families, marched towards the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg to present a petition to the Tsar, hoping for improved working conditions and political rights. However, Nicholas II's miscalculated response was to order the Imperial Guard to open fire on the crowd, resulting in hundreds of deaths and injuries. The repercussions of the brutal actions taken on Bloody Sunday reverberated throughout Russia, fueling revolutionary sentiments and further eroding the Tsar's credibility. In an attempt to restore order, Nicholas II implemented a series of concessions and established the State Duma, an elected legislative body. However, he maintained significant control over the Duma, rendering it ineffective and incapable of bringing about substantial reforms. The inability of Nicholas II to adequately address the socio-economic challenges of Russia, combined with his autocratic rule and repression of dissent, fueled the revolutionary fervor that eventually led to the February Revolution of 1917. With food shortages, mounting casualties from World War I, and a deepening economic crisis, the Russian people rose up against their oppressive ruler. The fall of the Tsarist regime was imminent. Tsar Nicholas II's final mistake, perhaps the most fatal of all, was his decision to abdicate the throne in March 1917. Rather than fighting to maintain his position or negotiating a compromise, Nicholas II willingly surrendered his power, leaving a power vacuum that would eventually be filled by the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin. This marked the end of centuries of autocratic rule in Russia and the beginning of a new era under communist leadership. In July 1918, Nicholas II and his family met a tragic and brutal end as they were executed by the Bolsheviks in Ekaterinburg. The fall of the Romanov dynasty and the murder of the imperial family marked the definitive end of an era in Russian history. The consequences of Nicholas II's fatal mistakes continued to shape the country for decades to come.